Hello, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I've just been running around all morning. Figuratively speaking, I've just been sat in this chair. But yeah, I woke up early this morning, got everything configured for the Alchemortis playtest, which is now live for Patreon members. So if you're an active subscriber to the Patreon, you should have received a Steam key for the playtest in the email inbox, the email address that you used to sign up for Patreon. And it's not too late to join as a Patreon member. If you join as a Patreon member anytime during this week, the automated system that I've set up will automatically email you a Steam key as soon as you are subscribed to Patreon. So if you've been wanting to try the playtest and you want to get a week of early access before everyone else, you could just subscribe at this $5 month tier for 1 month. That will get you instant access. You'll get a Steam key sent right to your inbox, and you'll be able to play right now. Of course, I have to mention always that you don't have to pay via the Patreon to try the playtest. The playtest will be open for everyone a week from today. So for this entire week until next Friday, only Patreon members will have access, and then for a week after that, everyone will have access. So this is just a way to support me. This is a way to fund the development. And of course, if you subscribe at this top tier here, I'm also going to send you an Alchemortis Steam key when the game launches. So this tier basically functions as a pre-purchase, and you only have to subscribe to this for 1 month. So if you subscribe for at least 1 month at any point during the development of the game, you have earned a Steam key for the full game. You will not have to purchase it on Steam. So definitely consider doing that. I would appreciate that. Of course, if you want to stay subscribed for several months, that would help me as well, and I would definitely appreciate if you would do that. But, you know, that's just, you know, it's, if you subscribe it for just 1 month, you will get these perks here, the Alchemortis credits and the Alchemortis Steam key. So that helps a lot. And then, of course, I've got my Udemy courses available, but we don't really need to mention those because today is the launch day. So check out the Steam page, Wishlist Alchemortis. If you haven't, consider subscribing to the Patreon to get access to the playtest. And by the way, if anyone has any problems accessing the playtest, if for some reason you didn't get your Steam key, or maybe it's sent to an old email address or whatever else, just hit me up on Discord, or you can send me an email, admin@firebelly.com, and I will make sure that you get your key, that you get your access. So if the automated system fails for whatever reason, you can always reach out to me and I will get that sorted for you. There was a couple of glitches related to that in the last play test, but I think I've refined my automated workflow to send out those Steam keys. So here's hoping that that's the case, and I don't have to go and fix a bunch of things. But anyway, what else? I think that's it. So yeah, definitely check it out, everybody. I would appreciate that. And let's say hello to everyone. Hello, Jhar. Welcome back. Good to see you. Sarami Dev, welcome. Good to see you. I did receive a key. Excellent. Thank you, Asymmetrics, and welcome back. Missed a ton of streams over the last couple of months, so this will be exciting for me. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and glad that you're back. Let's see. Me too. I only recognize about half the changes in the changelog. Yeah, I think the changelog is, I really enjoyed writing that because it was nice to just go through everything that I've changed. And what I did actually is I took this done column here. And so this board is backed by Markdown, right? So all of the data in this board is just in a giant Markdown file, and it just gets parsed in a certain way for the Kanban. So I took the done section of that Markdown file and I pasted it into ChatGPT and had it like distill everything down to me or for me. And then I added details and removed redundancies and stuff. But I got the patch notes all formatted basically 80% of the way there by just pasting this into ChatGPT. And I rewrote like a lot of it to be in my own words, like I said, but that helped a lot. But it was just nice to see like paste all this in and then ChatGPT puts a preliminary draft of the patch notes for me. And I'm like, oh, wow, I actually did quite a lot since the last playtest. So that was really fun to see for sure. But anyway, So anyway, let's continue on. Hello, I don't know how to say your name, but welcome. I'll just call you C, because that's the first letter I recognize. Welcome back. Always good to see you. Got the key, but no time to play right now. Got deadlines to attend to. Yeah, that's all right. But yeah, if you do play it, if you do find time to play it, definitely consider leaving feedback. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry for feedback. I'm committing corporate theft by playing during work hours. Very nice. That's the best kind of theft. Hello, Wooius. Welcome. Did you get your key, Wooius? I hope so. I hope so. Just want to spot check and make sure all the keys went out properly. Reading a changelog made the game feel a lot more real, funnily enough. Yeah, it does. It does. I agree. So yesterday when I ended the stream, I don't know how many of you were here for the evening stream, but I was having a problem with the this new enchant that I made, which is the exhaust when exhausted enchant. So basically, this enchant basically makes it so that when the card that owns the enchant gets exhausted, it exhausts a random enemy card as well. So I was thinking that this would be a really interesting thing. So like you could throw this on a card that exhausts itself, and that's like super powerful. Or, you know, like you could do a little bit of jujitsu with it, right? So like exhaust is typically a negative ability, but you might intentionally trigger it so that you can exhaust a random enemy minion, or not enemy minion, just a random enemy card. But I was having a problem yesterday with it exhausting multiple training dummies, and so I was stuck on that issue for a long time. I actually ended the stream not being able to fix that issue. And for anyone that was here and watching me struggle, I'll just go over the solution. So there was actually 2 bugs that were happening together that were confusing the issue. So one bug is in my training dummy. Here, I forgot to turn query source board off. So what was happening is some of the training dummies were exhausting training dummies, the other training dummies. So that was one problem. And then the other problem is that my enchant was not working because when I add this card to the rerun execution list, so this reruns a card lifecycle basically. What was happening before in here was that the source board was still being set as the enemy board. So what was essentially happening is I had a card on my board with that enchant, but it had the source board set as the enemy board. So it ended up not working in the sense that this query target board. Oh wait, how was it? Well, these boards were basically wrong. Like they were flipped. Like it was trying to do the query from the enemy board for some reason, and that wasn't working. Oh yeah, so it wasn't working because this query target provider was targeting any card that does not have an exhaust on it. But since that query was happening from the perspective of the enemy board, it was trying to target the player board, but the player board only had one card on it, which was already exhausted. So this was basically not doing anything because the boards were flipped. So what I had to do in this run execution context here is I had to explicitly grab the board that owns the card that is being rerun and set that to the source board in here, and then pass that along into the execution context source board. Because previously the source board would be the board of whatever card triggered the rerun execution. Anyway, this is all getting into internal details of how the game works, but I had 2 bugs going basically that were confusing me quite a lot. And what actually ended up being helpful is I ended up having this massive conversation with the AI here, and naturally it kept diagnosing the problem wrong, but after a little bit of back and forth with it, it finally said something about the source board being wrong, and I was like, oh wait, that's the issue. So anyway, yeah, use those AI tools, especially for debugging hard issues. A lot of times they're useless, but sometimes they jog something in your head that gets you to the solution quicker. So anyway, I'm glad that that ordeal is over, but I'm happy to report that this exhaust when exhausted enchant is now working. It works exactly as expected, and this is also in the playtest. So I think the plan is that any new content that I add while this playtest period is going on, I'm gonna just put that into the playtest build, and I'll just keep updating the playtest build several times throughout these 2 weeks of playtesting. So that way, you know, like, you're just getting the most up-to-date content for the playtest. I'm not gonna make any major changes in terms of the game systems to the playtest. We'll start those in like a week or so, I think, but I think for the next week, probably we'll just focus on adding content and fixing whatever bugs might come up. So anyway, what else is there to say? So yeah, I think I do have more major systems that I want to move on to doing. The major systems that are going to be the next focus of development are going to be the permanent progression / meta progression system. I want to add multiple playable characters, and I think, you know, this would be the time to also work on the combat log and making that a lot more detailed and a lot more useful, as well as like adding an in-game encyclopedia, adding card pack unlocks so that, you know, as you play the game and as you progress the permanent progression, more and more cards become available during your runs. So that should keep the game fresh. I would love to add multiple different boss enemies so that you're not facing the same boss every single time. What else? Tons and tons of quality of life improvements will be a focus as well. I think that's basically it. But yeah, I don't want to start on that stuff necessarily until I start getting some feedback on this latest playtest about like how the new mechanics and new features are working. So yeah, but yeah, hopefully, like, if everything is like directionally good, like if everyone says, you know, this playtest is better than the last one, and I fixed a lot of the issues with the game design and the game is more compelling now, then we can move on to those bigger things. Saving and loading is going to be a big one that we have to work on as well. So yeah, anyway, that's the plan for the next phase of development if all goes well with the playtest. So yeah, should be exciting. We're getting to the point of the game now where it's like, now we're going to move to the finish line, I think. And that's going to take, you know, several months, but it's going to get there. It's going to get there. Anyway, hello, Dione, welcome. Good to see you again. You did get your key. Wanted to make a live stream video in like the last 2 times, but unfortunately I'm really tired today. That's okay. I mean, it's still the Patreon early access period, so you have a week to make a video before everyone else gets access to it. Good morning, Emerson. Good to see you again. Walmart when? Okay, all right. Walmart, the Walmart integration. Just put that into the wave function collapse and put as many buzzwords in there as possible. Hello, RN Genesis, welcome. Good to see you. All right, so what do we want to work on content-wise? Let's do this artifact. Swap, poison, and heal. That sounds good. This is done, I think. Investigate why logs for... Oh, we should probably do that one. Let's figure out why the exhaust logs aren't happening. And I think it's probably just because I don't support it, but let's just try this out. Game debug, training dummy, generate test map. Yeah. Oh. Got a lot of stuff to do. I might also refresh my stream design a little bit. I was gonna do something like this, where I might just mess with this right now. It's kind of a goof off day, I guess. I was thinking about doing something like I add this NVIDIA background removal, get rid of this box that I'm in here, and just kind of like overlay myself on the game, free up some screen space a little bit. I think that works pretty good, right? That works pretty decently. No green screen needed. No green screen needed. So I might do something like this with the stream. I don't know. I was just messing around with this yesterday too, but imagine you get a carrot card and they deliver it into your home. Pretty immersive, don't you think? Immersive is one way of thinking about it. The thing that swaps any keyword for any other keyword, but you said that would require a lot of rewrites. Yeah, that is something that I want to do. Probably that would be a very major change, so I don't want to do that for this playtest build, but definitely want to do that for the next one, for sure. Definitely want to do that for the next playtest. Okay, so let's see. These should exhaust the skeletons, and that's not going to show up. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's fine. So yeah, exhaust is not showing up in the combat log. I don't think that's an issue with tracking the ability. I think I probably just didn't put that in the combat log manager. So let's see. No, I have the exhausted debuff here. Buff applicator, exhausted debuff, exhausted target card string. Get execution string for ability. Can I put a breakpoint here? Does that work? I think the blind works, so why does the exhaust not work? Let's figure this out. Oops, I should have ran with debug mode here. Playtesting, yes. Welcome, Defected. Good to see you again. I don't know how to say your name. Hello, Maui. I hope I said that correctly. Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Bubblegum Lord, welcome back. Yeah, so that's just not working. Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. Let's go to the card combat configuration. We're gonna get rid of these training dummies here. So we just got one training dummy, and then we'll make the training dummy a very low turn cooldown. And then what I can do is I can put a breakpoint here and see what is all going on here. So for some reason, it's not getting into that exhausted debuff case. So I don't know why that is. Okay, so we've got the entry here. Let's take a look at this. Get rid of that. Okay, entry ability is what? Fluent composed ability. Okay, step through that. Query target provider. Oh, is it just not? Is the buff applicator not being tracked for exhausted? So I'm never getting that. Base card, this should be the training dummy. So I've got the query target provider. Oh, but it's never gonna... hold on a second. I think I need to restart this. Time for game dev once again. Yes, indeed. Welcome, Jackie Daytona. I received my playtest key. Can't wait till evening when I have some more free time. Excellent, yeah. So far, so good on my automated key distribution system. I don't know if any of you have heard of like Zapier. I'm using like a Zapier competitor for all that stuff. It's kind of cool. I can load up all the Steam keys from a Google Doc, Google like sheet into like a data store, and then that becomes the list of keys that are available for distribution. And then I can tie into the Patreon API to get all of the existing members, but then I also have a webhook that watches for any new members or any new subscriptions. And so when those webhooks fire, it will pick out an unused key, an undistributed key, and email that, which is pretty cool because it takes a lot of the load off of me. I don't have to manage that stuff myself. Of course, that's if the flow is working correctly. So this is the... that's not running. So this is the query target provider, but then it's never doing the exhaust ability. So I don't know why that's not happening. Let me try something else. If I go to the training dummy and I do this instead, blind or mischance debuff, we'll just do new mischance debuff. I forgot, do I use a float here? Int duration, mischance, 10%. If this gets logged to the combat log, but the exhaust doesn't, we're going to be in trouble. We're going to be in trouble. Got mine too. Can't wait to play it. Awesome. Got mine as well. We'll play it after work. Excellent. Fluent composed ability, query target provider. Oh, it's not doing the mischance either. So that's not good. That's not good. Did I break? I guess I must have broke something here. So the buff applicator is never making it into this get execution string for ability. On ability execution tracked. So let's just follow this back up. New combat log manager. Okay, so current history. Track ability execution. Let's put a breakpoint here. You know what? I wonder... This is an I ability magnitude. Oh, I see. So I think what's happening is there's a filter here. If entry.ability is I ability magnitude, magnitude ability, and magnitude.get magnitude is equal to 0, I'm just filtering that out. And so what's happening is the buff applicator, it has an I ability magnitude interface implementation. All right, so I know what the problem is. So the problem here is that if I do a buff applicator, but I don't set the magnitude on the buff applicator to a non-zero value, then it won't be logged. So that's the big problem. So it does need to have a magnitude associated with it, otherwise it's not going to be logged correctly. Like I can't just do the blind Like I can't do this. I can't just set like the magnitude in here. I need to set the magnitude at the buff applicator level and pass that magnitude in. So what I would need to do instead is I would need to do buff applicator.set magnitude, or maybe set base magnitude. Set base magnitude to 10. And then what I would need to do is take this magnitude in here and do magnitude divided by 100f. So some of these buffs they take a magnitude in a float, and some of them take a magnitude in integers. So that's why I need to do this sometimes, which is a little bit wonky. So the reason why I need, so in my eye ability magnitude, the reason why I need a separate base magnitude from current magnitude. So the base magnitude is whatever the default magnitude is supposed to be. And the magnitude is whatever the current magnitude is. So the magnitude can be modified, for example, by a dynamic magnitude ability. And that will actually set the magnitude of that ability based on this value provider in here. And then this will typically get reset to the base magnitude when combat ends. So the base magnitude is like the anchor value, and then the current magnitude is whatever's modifying the magnitude, that value. So I'm trying to think if there's a cleaner way to do this, because I'm gonna make this mistake again. And I would rather not have like certain situations where I'm doing the buff applicator wrong, and because I'm doing it wrong, it doesn't get logged in the combat log. One thing I could do is I could just require the magnitude as a constructor argument here. So I could do something like int initial, or let's do base magnitude. That would reinforce the idea that I need this to be here. Then what I can do is I could set magnitude equals base magnitude is equal to base magnitude. So I think that would fix that. And then I just need to go through and update all the places that I just broke. That's probably the way to do it. Duplicate base magnitude. Can I use the constructor argument? Let's do initial base magnitude. And then in here, parameter is captured into the state of the enclosing type, and its value is also used to initialize a field property or event. I don't know what that means. But if the base magnitude happens to change via set base magnitude. I don't necessarily... Okay. Private read-only, int, initial base magnitude. Oh, that fixes that? All right, well, whatever. That's fine. But now I need to fix all these buff applicators here. Ace duration. Okay, I think this will work. Okay, so we're just going to need to go and fix all this stuff then. So this magnitude is going to be 10 by default. Let's see where else this broke. We can close all this. It's looking like Godot might want to crash. Good morning, Chris. Welcome back. Good to see you. Hello, Snupbill. Thank you for the IDR 10,000. Always appreciated. Thank you, thank you. And there's the Yummers message here. Gotta love it. Oh, you posted a message in the general chat? Nice. Hello, or no, I already said hello to you. You're not getting said hello to again, Emerson. But we got we got Yummers. Hello, Nicholas Dev. Hello, welcome, welcome. Usually active in other Discords, yeah. Yeah, the Discord fatigue is real, like so many servers. So many servers. Okay, so I guess we could just do current magnitude here. Is that right? I guess that's right. Yeah, I think that's fine. This needs to be in here. Okay. Magnitude. Put the magnitude in there. Yeah, we don't need these anymore. Okay. This one, self-exhaust, this can just be 1. Okay. All right, what else do we got? Const int base magnitude equals 20. Cool. So yeah, we're just going to go and fix all this. This should fix all the combat logs though, which is good. This is just 1. Well, hello. Yeah. This can just be const int base miss chance is equal to 10. Base miss chance there. Get rid of this. Base paralysis duration there. Oh, goodness. Well, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Exhausted debuff, that's just one. Okay. Critical chance buff. Base chance here. Get rid of this. Base multiplier here. Get rid of that. Okay. Already did that one. Oh, this magnitude here. Critical chance buff. Okay. Const int base critical chance is equal to 100. Base critical chance. Okay. Base mischance. Paralysis duration. Base blind chance. And then base paralysis duration. Okay. I think I skipped one, that's all right. Const int base critical chance equals 100. Put the base critical chance in there. You know what? I should probably do base critical chance divided by 100 here. I need to make sure that I'm actually changing the magnitude calculation everywhere too. I think I missed that. Because I don't want to define like a value here and then change it and realize that it's not changing inside of here. So I should probably fix that as well. Okay. Almost done. I'm going to need to go through and make sure I didn't... Oh, this magnitude should just be 1. I think I missed one here somewhere. I just want to make sure that I'm also reading the magnitude when I'm doing this. Yeah, that's fine. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's all right. I mean, I can just take the magnitude in here just to be consistent and pass that in there. Okay. That one's fine. That one's good. Let's do magnitude here. Okay. That one's good. That one's good. And that one's good. All right. Just make sure I got these last two here as well. I think that's good. Yeah. All right, let's build it again. Discord fatigue, huh? I probably prefer serve favoritism, but I guess that works too. Yeah. Say it's okay not to be active, but I apologize for inconveniences nonetheless. No, it's fine. You don't owe me anything. I'm glad that you're a member of the server. And you can pop in however often you feel is good for you. Didn't mean to put you on the spot. No harm was caused. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. So now we should start seeing this exhaust be logged in the combat log, I think. So if I do this... Blinded. Oh, I forgot I still have blind, but the blind is working now, so that's good. But let's switch this back to exhaust in the training dummy, just to be sure that this specific issue is exhausted debuff magnitude. Let's just be sure this specific issue is fixed. Why is that over there? That's weird. Oh, that's okay. So it's exhausting the skeleton warrior over and over again. But that's just because I don't have a filter in here. So I would do like custom filters equal to C not C dot buff container dot has permanent turn disabling debuff. So I put that filter in there. It shouldn't apply exhaust over and over again. What? Obviously, we don't want the exhaust, anytime exhaust is applied, we don't want it to be targeting something that's already exhausted, but I'm handling that on a per ability level, which may not be good because there are going to be cases where I forget to put the filter in, but that's just the way it works right now. Okay, training dummy, exhausted skeleton warrior, look at that. Cool, all right, so I think we fixed that problem. So that's good, and I'll just quickly click through all these things and make sure I didn't do anything dumb here. I'm being a little bit extra careful with these because I'm planning to update the playtest build with these fixes and content that I'm adding, so I just want to be extra careful. I would hate to push a build that bricks the game. So we're just doing a spot check here, make sure everything's good to go. Cool. All right. I think we're good. Fix debuff applications not being logged. Okay. That's done. So let's do this now. Let's do an artifact that swaps poison and heal. That'll be the next thing that we do. I think the functionality for this is going to be relatively interesting. Don't exactly know how that's going to work, but that could be very, very powerful. But that's all right. We'll see how it goes. We can nerf things later. Just got attacked by a carrot with a pitchfork. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna take a quick 3-minute break already. I drank way too much coffee this morning, so give me just a couple of minutes. I'll be back and then we'll work on this artifact here. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. Let's do something. Let's do this artifact, swap poison and heal. So we need obviously an idea for the art for the artifact, but I'm just gonna go, well, maybe I should start with the art first. Does anyone have an idea for an artifact that could swap poison and heal? Let's see if we can think of something. Let's see if we can think of something. So swapping poison and heal. Snake oil? Yeah, that could work. That could work as an artifact. I was thinking snake oil would be more like a reagent for alchemy. But snake oil could work for sure. Manticore sting. Ooh, that's a good one. Dubious elixir. A manticore sting. Interesting. Let me just start doodling here. So if I do something like this. So we do that kind of shape and then have like a little bit down here. Let's make this a little bit thinner there. Oops. That could work. Don't really like this being super flat up here, but that's probably okay. How's that for a shape? I think that looks pretty good. How big is each square on your canvas there? I think it's 24 by 24. Yeah, 24 by 24. But the safe area to draw is less than that because I need to be at least 3 pixels away from the border in every direction. And the reason for that is because what I'll do is I will add a 1 pixel outline to it, right? But then I have a shader which applies a 2 pixel outline to it on hover. And so I basically need to make sure I have room for 3 pixels in every direction when I'm drawing it. So the real would be what? -6 in each direction. So 18 by 18 is the real size that I have to draw them. Which coincidentally, and this is entirely coincidental, is the same size as the tiles in the game. So that was an unintentional consistency. It's kind of funny how you like fall into those things. Like I'll be editing a video sometimes and like, oh, this cut happens right when the music hits or whatever, like, and it's just totally unintentional. It's kind of fun. Okay. Do I want to use this color for it, or do I want to use... maybe I'll use the blue. That's probably fine. Maybe I'll do like a poison drop or something. Actually, I don't know if this is gonna work. That might be too much, but we'll play with it. We will play with it, why not? Okay. Kind of like that. Do I want to add even darker pixels here? Oh, that kind of looks good, actually. Yeah. How does that look? I think that looks pretty good. I'm not sure about the poison here. I don't know if I like that or not. Any feelings on the poison? Little poison drop? Initial impression, this is miles ahead of the last playtest. I love the new board management. Oh, that's great. I'm super happy to hear that. I think I mentioned before that, you know, as the game gets more mature, the playtests are a little bit more and more nerve-wracking for me because I'm worried, and I want you to say this if it's a problem, but what I am worried about is receiving feedback like this is a step backward from the previous playtest. That's what I don't want to hear, right? And I'm not saying you shouldn't tell me that. You absolutely should tell me that. But just from like a progression on the game perspective, like that is going to be a bad sign if I take a step backwards. So if your initial impressions are this is way better, that's great to hear. So thank you for letting me know. But yeah, like I said, don't hold back on your feedback. If you genuinely don't think that the newest build is better than the old one, please tell me. Please tell me. You like the poison drop? Just fired up the playtest before my AM meeting. The opening music is giving me Diablo 1 Tristram vibes. Excellent. That's kind of the vibe I was going for. I wanted to make it feel like an old school ARPG, mostly, inspired by Diablo. Obviously, it's not even close to being the same game as Diablo, but the vibes in Diablo are like immaculate, you know what I mean? So opening music, yeah, I'm glad you said that. And welcome back to the stream, Matt. Good to see you. You like the poison drop? Good. Welcome back, TK421. I hope I like it more than the second one. Second one I got destroyed a lot. It should. I think the third playtest is easier for sure. Music definitely sets the mood. Nice choice work. Yeah, but the person that's making the music for me is one of my good friends from high school actually. And he is not a professional musician. He doesn't have any formal music training at all. But he has an interest in like learning how to make music and learning those digital audio workstations. I think he's using Fruity Loops or something. But I was like, hey, yeah, if you wanna take a stab at the music, and I end up using it for the game, I'll pay you for it. And as far as I'm concerned, he knocked it out of the park with all the tracks, but in particular, that first track is like the perfect mood for sure. So he's done all the music. So if you'll hear the new second region music and the new third region music, and also there's boss music. I can't remember if the boss music was in the second playtest or not, but let me know what you think of the other music tracks as well. I'll pass along your comments and critique to him. A lot of the music is kind of like in flux too, like he's mentioned wanting to go back and like rework certain sections of certain tracks. So if you have any feedback with respect to the music, definitely send that my way as well, so I can pass it along to him. Okay, well, we've got the Manticore Stinger. Do we want to call it Stinger, or do we want to say just Sting? Manticore Stinger. Okay, I think we're good. Manticore Stinger. Okay, let's put the outline on it. If I'm ever at that point of needing music, I'd like to hire him. Very impressed with their Alchemortis tracks so far. Let me just screenshot that and send that over to him, because he will love to see that message. Gotta open Discord. I close Discord for my streams just so that the notification sounds aren't playing in the background, but I'll definitely send this over to him. Okay. You won? Nice. That was quick. What do you think? What do you think, Asymmetrics? Try everything I can to break it this weekend. Initial impressions are good, though. Okay. Let's create a new artifact resource. Manticore Stinger. I have to wait a week for playtest? That's all right. Yeah, like I said, everyone's going to be able to try the playtest. There's no FOMO here. The early access is just a little bit of a bonus reward for the people who have supported the development. I love that you can get enemy cards. Excellent. Trying to build a boss mayor to take his own town down. Nice. How hard is the game? I think the game is easier than the second playtest, and the main reason why the game is easier than the second playtest is, number one, there are more tools at your disposal to break the game. Like, there's a lot more enchants, there's a lot more ways to modify the map and gain power. But also, you can unlock board spaces much earlier, so you're not nearly as dependent on getting the Grow board event, which was a big, like, headache in the second playtest. So I think I haven't really done anything to fundamentally change the difficulty of the combat encounters, but I have added a lot more tools to the player to increase their power quicker. So I think it's easier than the second playtest. I think you'll probably, well, I don't know if I should say this, but I definitely don't want the game to be beatable unless you're like genuinely engaging with the mechanics. Like, you shouldn't be able to just throw cards on your board haphazardly and win. I want you to have to actually apply strategy to win. And it doesn't have to be a perfect strategy, but to win the first run, I want you to have to engage with the strategic mechanics of the game. And if I'm not accomplishing that well, currently I'm going to fix that. I actually probably think the game might be too easy, or it's too easy to get away with, like, not really strategizing all that much. But I also have to leave room to increase the difficulty of the game for the people that want the difficulty increase, right? So you could imagine, like, the first tier of difficulty is like, yeah, you can't win by just throwing cards haphazardly on your board, but as long as you're doing a little bit of strategizing, you have a reasonable chance of winning, right? But then there should be a tier of difficulty several levels higher, which is basically like, you have to play this perfectly or else you're going to lose, right? And so that's going to be the next phase of development, is figuring out how to do that difficulty progression and how to tie that in with the permanent progression systems. I mean, you think about like Slay the Spire, like whatever it's called, the Ascendant mode or whatever, where the game just becomes harder and you have to know the game mechanics in and out to reliably beat the harder difficulties. That's kind of what I'm trying to go for in Alchemortis. And yeah, we'll have to see how I get that done, but yeah, we'll see. I'm going to test out the pause feature. I have to run from my meeting. There you go. Pause should work as far as I'm concerned. I want harder bosses. Yeah, so difficulty is going to be something that I focus on for the next phase of development. It's harder to get going and pick a build direction, but once you do, it goes off. Nice. Okay. Will you have the players make a meta out of the cards? I mean, I'm sure there will be builds that are just generally stronger than others, but I think because of the random nature of the game and because I'm going to have 300 or 400 cards by the time the game releases, it's going to be really hard to get the exact build that you want. And so there's going to have to be, or at least what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make it so that you do have to make decisions on the fly. Like you have to, with the result of the alchemy and what cards you get, it should always be a challenge. Like, it shouldn't just be like, oh, I'm just going to go seek out X, Y, and Z card and then my build is done. You know, like, there's going to have to be, I want every run to have to make you think about what you're doing. And just throw a bunch of tools at the player so that you can create your builds and strategize. But every run should feel a little bit different than the last run. Like, maybe once in a blue moon you'll get the exact build that you're after, but most of the time it's going to be, you have to make do with what you have. You have to try to take what you have and make it strong, right? In Clover Pit, they do a good curve where the later runs really need a lot of gold to progress. If you're not exploiting the game's mechanics, you can't get those high of numbers. Gotcha, yeah. Bit unrelated, but would you put a timer for speedrunners for funsies, really? I don't know if a speedrun timer would fit in this game, because you have the auto resolve button, right? Which basically just immediately resolves combats. I mean, I guess like it could be like speed chess, right? Where like you just try to make your decisions as quick as possible and just auto resolve through all the combats, but I don't know if it would work that well. I mean, I could put like a total run time at like the end game screen and just like if you feel like trying to beat your runtime, you can do that. But I don't know if like making it a visible feature of the game would be. I don't know if that would add a whole lot of value, but I could be wrong if anyone feels differently. And that's stuff that I can add post-release too. Like that's a minor thing that's pretty easy to add into the game. So if people are requesting it, I don't see it being that difficult to add. The other things I want to do too is I want to add well, I don't think I wanted to do that. I wanted to add like a daily run feature, so the daily run would be like everyone on that day gets the same seed, and then that would be kind of cool. So like you go into the daily run knowing that other players are playing it, and you know, I don't know, maybe I don't know how useful that would be either unless there was some kind of like leaderboard or something, but then the fact that it's a single player game, it's pretty easy to hack things like leaderboards, so I don't know if that would even be that useful. I suppose I could like pull into the Steam API and just like show you what your friends have done in terms of that daily run, but I kind of like the idea of daily run or challenge runs. Maybe the daily run has some kind of modifier on it that is not typically experienced in the game. I don't know. I think there's lots of interesting ways to like modify the run experience, but it's a little bit early too. Anytime heal is applied, apply poison instead. Anytime poison is applied, apply heal instead. On second thought, maybe you're right. I could see speedruns for a shared seed, like a daily challenge deal. Yeah. Speedrunners will speedrun tic-tac-toe. Do not underestimate them. How much sense something makes to a speedrun does not factor into speedrunners' decision to speedrun it. I guess that's true too. That's a strong argument. Leaderboard could just show the most commonly used cards that won. Yeah, that could work. Daily run with modified rules sounds great. I love daily challenges in... Is that Bloons Tower Defense 6? And that would be relatively easy to do because the whole game is seeded, so I would just have to generate a deterministic seed based on like the current system time or whatever. And so from midnight to 11:59 p.m., it would just have that seed, and then the next day would have a different seed. So yeah, I think it's definitely doable. Sorry, I got to respond to this. Okay. Bloons 6. Global Game Jam is tonight. Good luck to you, Evan. I hope you have a good time. And I hope your game turns out well. Mini Motorways has a really good system. Some days roads cost double, 0 motorways to add some flavor. Oh, that is interesting. Yeah, I think there's this game has a lot of potential, and so I gotta really make sure that I'm realizing that potential. Don't drop the ball, you know what I mean? Anyway, so the Manticore Stinger is in place from an art perspective. I should probably just at least create the script before I commit this. Okay, I'm just gonna run the game really quick. run the game really quick, make sure it's not crashing. I think generally, like as a habit, I try not to make any commits to my repository that would outright break the game. I think that's just a good habit to get into, but also that makes it so that way if I ever want to go back in the history for whatever reason and just like check out the project at a certain commit, I want to know that the game is going to build on that commit and run, right? Even if it has bugs, it just needs to not crash. And if I didn't add this script here, and I committed this, it would have crashed. Okay. So, now we have to figure out how to actually do this. I think there's a clever way to do this. Where is that alchemical heal here? So, let's see. I think there's an easy way to do this, which is, so instead of trying to hook into the abilities being changed and whatnot, I can place on each card from this artifact an ability like I'm doing with the alchemical heal here. So that alchemical heal is... that is the Rod of Asclepius. And what that does is that just puts a healing ability on every card that is tagged with the alchemical tag. And I don't have any alchemical things. Very cool, very cool, very tight, very tight. Enable test player cards. So what I'm thinking about doing is... so you see how this says Rod of Asclepius heal 4 on it? So that's being given by this Rod of Asclepius artifact. So what I'm thinking about doing for the Manticore Stinger is put abilities on each card that convert poison to heal and heal to poison. Oh, that might create an infinite loop though. Oops. But anyway, put those abilities on each card invisibly though. So instead of showing the ability on the card, the ability would exist on the card, but it just wouldn't be shown. It wouldn't be surfaced to the player. And what that would do in effect is that would put at the card ability level the convert heal to poison and poison to heal. And without cluttering every card with additional abilities. Now the problem here though is that this might create an infinite loop because heal is going to get converted to poison and then immediately afterwards poison is going to get converted back to heal and so on and so forth. So yeah, that might be a problem. I should probably modify this description. Anytime an allied card applies heal, let's do this. Anytime an allied card heals, apply poison to the enemy instead. anytime poison is applied to the enemy, apply heal self instead. Do I want to do that anytime? Anytime an allied card applies poison to the enemy, heal self instead. This logic might get a little wonky too. How do I keep getting myself into these situations where I have to update a bunch of my system to get this to work? Ugh. Oy. Well, let's just start off by doing the very basic approach, which I know is not going to work, but we got to start somewhere. So base composed abilities, artifact context based card. So I'm just going to copy from alchemical heal here. And let's see, we'll put this in here. Okay. Okay, so private composed ability, heal to poison. New composed ability, convert damage to bleed. So we got this ability modifier, ability magnitude modifier. So this is what I'm going to want to do in here. New ability magnitude modifier. If ability magnitude is heal, we're going to return new poison. Actually, I'm going to need, where is this even used? Ability magnitude modifier. Oh, this is probably an I ability modifier, find all references. This is happening here. Modifier abilities. Modifier, modify ability magnitude. Okay, so the problem here now is that this heal is going to start poisoning itself, I think. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things to fix here. Can echo as false is going to be important, so I'm glad that AI put that there. Okay. Yeah. So there's going to be a couple of problems here. One, this heal is going to be applied to self instead. I wonder, hold on a second. Can I, let me see. Public bool target self, and heal.target self. I think that will work. So we're only going to target heals that are targeting yourself. Is that what I said? Oh man, this is getting kind of unwieldy already. Are you going to update the playtest build with these new things? Yes, that is the plan. So all throughout this week and next week, as I'm adding new content, I will push those updates to the playtest. Hello, Clickertail. Welcome, welcome. Making converted heal tag. I don't know if that's going to help. Could just apply the ability once at the start of combat and then remove the ability at the end. Well, the thing about these magnitude modifier abilities is these aren't really abilities that get executed. They're kind of abilities that hook into other ability executions, which is a little bit weird. I need to come up with a new system for like modifying ability executions. I don't think that this is going to be very sustainable. I was brainstorming an ability mutation system with the AI, wherein I could I would create a new mutation type, and I would be able to add those mutations directly to composed abilities. And then during the course of the normal ability execution, I would be able to read those mutations and modify the abilities in accordance with those mutations. I'm not sure if that's going to help in this case, but I definitely need a better system for this. And but what I find helps too is that as I build out this functionality, it kind of creates a clearer picture of like all the cases that I need to support, and that makes refactoring easier. So we're just going to try it with the tools that I already have built, and then we will let that inform what changes need to happen at the system level to more cleanly enable all these things. If it converts from something, don't do anything. Oh yeah, you're saying to prevent the infinite chain. Yeah, that would avoid the infinite loop. Yeah, the problem is though, like, I might want to do an indefinite number of chains, right? So for instance, if I've got an ability that converts poison to shielding, then what would happen during this chain is I would heal, the Manticore Stinger would change the healing to poison, and then the poison would be changed to shielding. So you've got kind of like a multi-level series of interactions, and I want to enable that. If I just said cease conversion after the first conversion, that kind of breaks that whole thing, right? So I want to enable that, but I need a way of identifying when a specific conversion has already been applied to the ability so I don't do that again. Should be possible. I think I have all the data I need. It's just a matter of like, how do I store that data and pass it to all the systems that need it? This game is getting very complex. I think I'm getting to the point where I might actually need to do some unit tests. It's too hard to keep track of everything. Systems will eventually settle over time. I keep telling myself every time I change something. Yeah. Hello, Quebble. Thanks for joining the stream. Great to see you. Game is looking super cool. Quick question, what chat are you using? It looks cool. I want to try it for my stream. Yeah, so first of all, everybody check out Quebble Game Development. His channel is great. Got a lot of very useful tutorial content there. Very well presented with excellent advice all around. So definitely check out the channel, subscribe. It's a great resource for you. And the stream tool here it's called Social Stream Ninja. So basically you set it up and it provides like a little, it provides a URL that you can use in like a browser view in OBS. And so it will just listen for the YouTube chats. It puts those out on a web page, and then you can embed that web page in your stream for highlighting and everything. And then it also comes with a dock that you can dock into OBS. I guess I could just show you now. I don't think there's any sensitive information here. Ignore the infinite recursion of the windows. But yeah, I've got my little dock here, which is all the chats coming in. And then I just need to click on a chat to highlight it. And that's all made available through the Social Stream Ninja app. Quebble, yeah, you got some fans here. Might need a system design doc. Well, I think that's where tests can be useful. Not only do tests give you the confidence that certain systems are working, but tests also have a dual purpose in that, well, in a traditional software engineering context, the tests kind of encode the business logic, right? So when you write a test case with a description that's plain English, that plain English describes a certain business requirement, and then the test runs all the logic to make sure that business requirement is being met. So instead of having like a system design doc, I could just encode that information in a series of tests. And then if I ever introduce a test failure, I could say, oh, the system is supposed to work this way as described by the test, but I broke that system design or whatever. So that's where they could be useful for sure. I'm just very opposed to like having separate documentation that like lives alongside the code base, because then it becomes out of date very quick, and then there's a confusion about what the source of truth is. Happens all the time. When I was a software engineer, you go to a document that hasn't been updated in 6 months, and you read how it's explaining the system should work, and then you look at the system and they're not in agreement. And then there's a huge question about like, is the document the source of truth and this is bugged, or is the code the source of truth and the document is out of date? And I think that's the nice thing about like tests. That's why I don't do comments. That's why I don't do docs, is because the source of truth should be the code. Whatever the code is actually doing is the source of truth, always. And to the extent that you can make that as self-documenting as possible, that's like the best of both worlds. But there are limits to everything, of course. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. What program are you using for the to-do tasks? Still trying to figure out how I actually want to organize my stuff. It's Obsidian with the Kanban plugin. What if you add a new system to the functions as a road stop that all ability triggers pass through before actually triggering? Then you could add logic that can change any ability to what you want. I think that's kind of similar to the mutation system I was just talking about. But yeah, the instinct to make everything pass through a unified system is a good one, and that's definitely what I should do. So I'm probably going to move to that kind of a system soon. But again, I want to squeeze as much out of my current tools as possible, let the shortcomings and the strengths of the system I'm currently using inform whatever new system I introduce, right? So we're going to see how it works. But anyway, let's see if this works. So this should apply poison to the enemy, I think. So let's see. Well, let's get a lamb bone ring in here. Lamb bone ring. Code has readability limits. I think in certain cases, yeah. I mean, there are definitely like algorithms, for instance, that if you were to implement them, it doesn't matter how clean you write the code, the algorithm could be so ununderstandable that you would actually need like a plain English document to describe how it works. So I'm thinking of like cryptography algorithms, right? If you look at just like an open source cryptographic algorithm, there's no way to make that understandable at a plain glance, or even things that are more simple like sorting algorithms. Like, can you just discern what a bubble sort is doing and how it's actually working if you just look at the implementation? Probably not, right? So there are definitely cases where writing some plain English documentation or comments will help, but when I'm working on a game and I'm not doing anything that's like super complex, it's mostly just shuffling data around and making sure that the state is being updated correctly. That should all be describable with the code, mostly. This is my opinion though, so don't take a rando stranger on the internet's word as gospel. But that's just how I think about those things. I had quite a reputation at my previous jobs for being like militantly anti-comment. Like if I was ever reviewing a PR and I saw a comment, I'd be like, this is unnecessary, remove this. It kind of annoyed some people, but that's okay. That's okay. Anyway. Look at that. So that's working. So now let's get into the infinite loop situation. And then we'll resolve this. This is basically just going to be the inverse. So If ability magnitude is poison, I probably need to standardize this to like target self and not poison.target self. Return new heal. Poison.get magnitude. I don't think these descriptions are necessary, but okay. Let's see what happens. Crypto, yeah, they are hard to understand, yeah. Games feel a bit more comprehensible. You know what you're trying to do a bit more. I think so, yeah. Oh, that brings me to bad college memories. The only time I ever use comments is when I need to give my code to someone who has a hard time understanding stuff. That can work, yeah. One guy at work loves to do one-line returns. Computers are fast enough that you do not need to compress the code down to unreadable, unparsable code. Yeah, so my bias when I'm writing code is I always write my code in favor of readability instead of cleverness. Like, there are certain situations in this code base where I could merge a series of if-else statements into just like one giant like if-else block with like 6 conditions, and that would be logically equivalent. But the thing is, it's hard to parse. It's hard to keep in your head when you've got 6 different conditions being evaluated as part of like one if check. And so I will often just split it out into very discrete steps. Like, if this happens, then do this. And if that is not true, then do that. And like, yeah, you could look at it and say, well, this could all be compressed down into a single if check, and that's true. But is it more readable? No, right? And I think you'll notice too that my ability names, my class names, or not my ability names, my variable names, my class names, I'm always or generally very verbose with them. And the goal is like, the goal for me at least is to make the code readable like a book. Like, I should be able to read the code top down and understand just by reading it what it's doing, not even like looking into the logic and how the logic is working. Like, I should just be able to read the variable and method names and know exactly what's happening without having to look at the implementation details. Now, obviously that's an ideal, and it's not something that I succeed at all the time, but I think you'd be surprised at what a difference that makes for your productivity when you can read your code like a book and you can just like disregard the implementation details because the method names and the variables are descriptive enough that you know what they are, right? Hello, Marcos. What makes a good UI, like for example, health indicator without text, say like 10 health? I mean, yeah, that's a good question. I always have trouble with UIs and representing health and stuff, especially if you're not using text. But I would think, you know, like you could just look at how other games do it. Like Minecraft doesn't have any text indicators for its health system, and it seems pretty straightforward to understand, right? But that's one of those things that crosses more into like the art side of things, art and UX, which are my weaker skills. So I don't really know a good answer to that question. Keep all your ifs into ternary operators. Yeah. Hello, Neozoid. Welcome back. Hello, Diginanigans. Welcome back to you as well. How's the playtest going? So far, so good. The early feedback is positive. I've gotten feedback from several people already that say it's better than the last playtest, so that's good. But, you know, I'm obviously still waiting to collect feedback from everyone. So we'll see. Sorry I missed the opening, but on my team, I advocate for comments as to why you're doing something, not the how. The code should be readable enough for that. Yeah, and I think that's a reasonable position to take on comments as well. Like, you shouldn't be... if you're going to use a comment, yeah, you definitely shouldn't be reiterating in the comment what the code is already doing. But yeah, explaining like what the code is even there to accomplish to begin with can be a good idea. But that's the case where, like, yeah, if you have automated tests, like that stuff could just be moved to a test as well, right? Game true, false. I like to think of write code instead of just code. Feels like write reminds you that something's readable. Coding, not as much. Right, yeah. I think that's a good way of looking at it. Welcome back, HP Jonas, by the way. Same guy also nests ternaries. He's a massive clown. Oh, goodness. I constantly have to leave tons of the same comments on his PRs. That's funny. There's always somebody like that in the workplace where it's just like they're just a little bit stubborn. I mean, my experience with other software guys, other programmers, is that there tends to be a lot of stubbornness to go around. Everyone has their preferred way of doing things and is convinced that their way is the best. And that's just kind of the game you have to play when you're working in a workspace. Like, everyone's stubborn, everyone thinks they're doing it their way, and their way is the right way, and so you just kind of have to roll with that. It becomes very entertaining when you just step back and see it for what it is, and it becomes more amusing than anything, honestly. Like, everyone knows the senior engineer who's just like, my way or the highway, and it's like, all right, buddy, all right, I'll do it your way. It's okay. 100% agree with the book approach. I do it the same way. One thing I like to do is early returns, with each if statement being its own rule to check. Yeah, that can clean things up quite a lot too. So instead of doing if else, you just like return as early as you can. But I did, speaking of senior engineers, I worked with a senior engineer at one of my jobs who insisted that the return should always be at the end of the method, that early returns were always unacceptable. And I was like, okay, well, that's not how I would do it. But, you know, the other thing that takes priority for me, at least, is like consistency is the most important thing. So if you're in a code base that is already saying, you know, we don't do early returns, then adhering to the consistency is a lot more important than trying to wriggle your own way of doing returns into the way that things are done. Because if everyone's on the same page, if everyone's being consistent, then you can make certain assumptions about the code base that reduce like your mental load, right? So if you know that no methods in the code base ever do any early returns, that is an assumption you can bring to the code base when you're reading the code, right? And that can actually make a difference in your ability to comprehend the code more quickly. So above all else, the consistency is the most important thing, in my opinion. What's the difference, UI, UX? UI is like the actual user interface. That's like the actual art or the presentation of the user interface. And user experience is more of like, how is the interface laid out and how do the flows work? Where does this page go? Where does this tab go? Where do we put the close button? What alerts do we show in certain invalid situations? So the UX is more of like the high level flow of the UI and how the player interacts with the UI, and the user interface itself is like the actual visual representation of that experience. I'm on the mindset that I really only use comments if something is done outside of expectation or isn't clear. Comments easily get outdated. Yeah. Comment, multiply a variable by 2, code, a times equals 2. Yeah. Don't ever touch this. Yeah, that's a good one. Hello, Budget Jim. My IDE gives, I wonder what Premium Jim would be like. My IDE gives me a warning that game is always false. One example is something that seems unnecessary to account for bugs on a particular platform device. Oh, yeah. So those weird little hacky workarounds you need to do to get the app to start up on an iPhone or whatever. Yeah, that stuff is fun too. Try not to get involved in opinionated syntactical stuff, but I do come down hard on consistency. I don't care how stuff is done as long as it's the same stuff is done the same way each time. Yeah, absolutely. I am in full agreement with that. I had a similar issue when I worked for Army Cyber. Everyone in that building has always been the smartest guy in their units before getting that job, so it's very hard for them to be with peers. Yeah. Many such cases. It's hard to grasp now that you are one of the many really smart guys, and sharing ideas is the key to success instead of just always doing it your way and expecting everyone to sing your praises. Yeah, definitely a problem. Yep, I had many such experiences as well. Sometimes early returns are not ideal and I don't use them for those cases, but to go full no early returns at all, nah, yeah. I don't really understand the logic behind it, but again, consistency. For playtest, do you ever log data to a server? Could see it being helpful for identifying player roadblocks. Curious about your take. No, I'm not doing any sort of telemetry or anything in the build of Alchemortis, apart from whatever statistics Steam gives me, which are just basic like download statistics. I haven't seriously looked into collecting any data like that, and I don't know if I'd have to do like GDPR stuff about that too, so I'm not sure, but I think one thing that would be helpful, and this is not really telemetry related, but I would love to implement a system that like automatically uploads game logs somewhere for me, especially in the event of like bugs or crashes. That at least would be helpful, but I don't have anything like that, so I have no idea what's happening with the game on your machines. So I'm relying on you to report things that you see. Do you mean like Sentry? Yeah, Sentry or any of the other clones of Sentry. I think Sentry has a Godot integration though, which would be nice. I'm also not sure, like Steam allows you to log certain things to Steam, but I don't think that's very comprehensive. I think you can just log like stats or something, but I haven't looked into that much either. It does have an SDK, yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and see if this creates an infinite loop. I'm sure it will, and then we're gonna have to fix that problem. So actually what I'm probably gonna see, no, the game is probably gonna lock. It's probably gonna soft lock here, if I had to guess. So let's put this here. And not only did it not soft lock, it didn't do anything. Oh, wait a minute. I guess, yeah, it's not going to soft lock. Because what happens here is this goes first, this converts to poison, and then this converts to poison to heal. I don't know why I thought it would be an infinite loop. Wait, why isn't it an infinite loop? Oh, that's kind of concerning. Oh, because the abilities are being executed. The abilities are being executed in order, so these ability magnitude. So what's happening is we enter this loop with the heal ability. Yeah, so it's only applying each modifier once to per execution. So what's happening is the heal ability is coming in here. It's getting down to this level. Then the heal to poison modifier is being done. And then, but it's applying, so it's getting a list of all the modifiers here. So we've got modifier abilities. It's grabbing that list of modifiers up here. And then it's just applying each modifier to each ability that gets executed, as long as it's an I ability magnitude. So yeah, it's got two modifiers in here, so it's just applying those two modifiers sequentially. It's not actually like inserting a new ability onto the ability list to execute, which is why there's no infinite loop. So it's basically just switching the poison to, or switching to heal to poison, and then the modifier that happens immediately after that is switching the poison to heal. So this might actually be a simpler fix than I think. So one way of fixing this, I think, is I could add an identifier to the modifier, and I could say that, and that could be like a group, that could be like a modifier group. And so I could put these modifiers in the same group, and then I could do a check to make sure that no modifier of that group has already been applied. And if a modifier of that group has already been applied, then just ignore the second one, right? So that would prevent these two modifiers from canceling each other out, because it would just apply whatever the first one that's applicable is, and then it would just disregard the second one. So we're not dealing with an infinite loop, that's good. So I just need to make sure that these modifiers don't override each other. And this is order dependent too. So let's say that, so I've got poison to heal. The poison to heal would work because it's starting with a heal ability. So if I put the poison to heal first here, it's starting with the, well, yeah, so it's starting with the heal. This won't modify it because this expects a poison to come in. And then this will modify it because that expects a heal to come in. So this is order dependent. But if I just make these like a member of a group and then make sure that only one of these can ever execute per ability execution, I think that would basically fix the issue. And that could be useful as well. So that kind of solves the problem of these canceling each other out, but then it also enables the possibility for other magnitude modifiers to kick in. Now, this is also a problem, though, because this is ordered. So these are ordered, which means that if I had, let's say I had a third modifier that converts poison to preserve, these are going to be executed in the order that they appear in the ability list. So I almost need like a priority order for these, or at least I need to put these. Actually, let me think. Yeah, so those are order dependent, because let's say I have a convert poison to shield ability that runs first. And then the Manticore kicks in and converts heal to poison. As a player, I may say, wait, I'm converting my heal to poison with the Manticore Stinger, but I also have this ability modifier that's supposed to convert poison to shield, and yet it's not doing that. And that's because the convert poison to shield is listed first in the modifier abilities list before the Manticore ability. I think that just needs to be solved by having a very so I just need to make it very apparent that the abilities in the game are going to execute in the order that they're presented on the card. And then what I would do for the artifact is I would probably just make the artifact abilities execute first before anything else. So the priority order would be artifact abilities go first, then enchant abilities go next, and then whatever the card abilities are would go after that. I think that would be the way to do it. Now, I could still end up in situations where like multiple artifacts could conflict with each other, and then the ordering of the artifact modifiers depends on that. The other thing I could do is I could make this a loop, and I could just keep reapplying the ability magnitude instead of just executing them in order, so that anytime you get a poison, it gets converted to heal, and anytime you get a heal, it gets converted to poison, or anytime you get a poison, it gets converted to shield. That would be the other way of doing it, but then I'd have to figure out a way of like reiterating all of these modifiers to make that work, and then I'd also have to detect when the ability has stopped being modified. That is a tricky problem. What am I going to do about that? I mean, I kind of like, these convert, one ability into another, convert poison into heal. I like the idea of that being global, such that it doesn't matter when the ability executes, or it doesn't matter what the chain of modifiers is. Anytime you end up with a poison ability, or anytime you end up with a situation where poison is going to be applied, I think it would be good to turn that into heal if you have such a conversion ability on the card. But the problem is, I have to keep reapplying these modifiers until it's like stabilized, or until all of them have been exhausted. I would definitely have to prevent infinite loops in that case, for sure. But the other solution is the one that I just mentioned, which is just like make the order of operations apparent, and then just execute them in order. What to do? I don't know. I don't know what to do. I suppose to prevent an infinite loop, I could just keep track of the number of times that a modifier has been. So I mean, maybe that would be the way to do it. I make sure that each modifier can only apply up to once. and I just keep rerunning this loop until either all of the modifiers have been applied or until there are no more changes happening as a result of the modification. I don't know. Any thoughts on any of that? I don't know if anyone was following my ranting, but logging the popularity rank of each card would be fun. Yeah, that would be fun. No, not soft locked and does nothing. Yeah. He's too good at can't fail when he wants to. Yeah. Love the idea of logging how card stats, how often they're used in successful runs. Players could see which cards are best. Yeah, that'd be cool. We'll see. We'll see what we do. If the player has 2 artifacts, one with poison becomes heal and another with heal becomes shield, would that work? What determines the order of execution within the artifacts? Yeah, so that's the kind of the question that is at hand right now. Poison becomes heal and another heal becomes shield. So I think in that case, right, the obvious, like the way I think a player would expect that to work is like regardless of the order in which you acquired the artifacts, it says poison will become heal. So anytime I apply poison, it should become heal. And then anytime I apply heal, it should become shield. So what I should be able to see as a player is that I have a poison card and that poison ultimately gets turned into shielding, right? That's what I would expect as a player, but with the way that the system is currently set up, it's order dependent. So which means that if the heal becomes shield runs first, and then the poison becomes heal runs second, what I will get is I will get poison being transformed into heal. It will not become shielding, because the order of operations is important there. So on the one hand, I have the player expectation of like, my poison should ultimately become shielding, right? And then on the other hand, what was I saying? Well, on the other hand, then you have the order of operations. So I don't know. I don't know how to solve this problem. I don't know how to solve this problem. Could the player change the order of conversions by reordering the artifacts? Well, that is an option too, right? So I could make it so that the artifact abilities always run first, and then so that you can reorder the artifact, so you can control the order of execution. That is an option for sure, and that would actually make this system a lot simpler. The other thing is just to make them global, like I said, and just keep reiterating until all of the global modifiers have either been applied or are no longer applicable. I can see it going both ways. I'm trying to think like which one would be more intuitive for the player. And also with the situation where I just make all of them global and I just keep reiterating until all the modifiers have been applied, regardless of their order. Are there any situations, like excluding the infinite loop, are there any situations where that would work unintuitively? Like if I have poison to heal, and then heal to shield, and then shield to fire, and then fire to poison, would that just negate everything? Like would I just have poison go to poison? I don't know. Problem with that is I have very few cards in the last few runs that don't get alchemized into other cards eventually. Okay, yeah. What if you have convert poison to shield and poison to heal at the same time, 2 artifacts? The order will matter. I don't think you can avoid that. Oh, right, yeah. So if I got poison to heal and the heal gets applied first, then the poison will never get converted to shield. Yeah, so maybe preserving the order is important, and then maybe I do need to support reordering artifacts. Yeah, reordering artifacts. Okay, I think that's probably the way to go. So allow reordering artifacts to control artifact execution, artifact ability execution order. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to do something like that. Okay. Saying it would be difficult to do like card-based meta in this game. Oh, right. Maybe a damage type meta or something would work. Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I don't want... Yeah, if there's going to be a meta, it's definitely going to be like damage type. Like poison is probably going to be a very popular one because it's very strong, generally speaking. And there's a number of ways to control that, right? Like I could make poison builds harder to put together, but retain their strength, or I could make them easier to put together and like nerf the strength a little bit. But yeah, in terms of like meta, I'm hoping that there's going to be enough variety in the game that like any sort of meta is like a very loose term that just generally refers to like poison being strong, rather than, you know, you get this build every run, like go for this exact build every single run, right? Like the Jokers from Balatro, they execute from left to right. Yeah, I think that is the way I'm going to have to do it. I think that's the only way to solve this problem. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and then when I come back, let's fix the order of operations issues with this, and also we're still going to add these to a modifier group so that these don't cancel each other out. And we'll see what we can do about that. So anyway, I'll be right back in just 3 minutes, and we will get that going. All right. Anyway, your favorite niche e-celeb is back. Yep. I like how they did it in Inkbound. Fantastic game, by the way. Your build patch is more influenced by your character choice than random boosters. The Moss guy is better at poison and crit. So here's what I'm thinking about, because I want to add multiple playable characters to this game. And the way that I'm thinking about doing that is, so obviously each character would start with a different amount of health to start. Characters could potentially start with a different amount of starting blood or starting alchemical residue. But also, I wanted to make each character start with an artifact. So instead of like programming like bonuses into the character directly, what I could do is just start each character off with a different artifact. And that could immediately change what builds you gravitate towards with certain players. So for example, one character could be a poison character that starts with the what is it called? Poison vial or whatever. The one that heals you based on the poison damage dealt. And so that character could obviously start with the poison vial and start with a couple of cards that deal poison damage, right? And so now you're automatically set to kind of like go right into a poison build, right? For the character that's in the game currently, this little necromancer guy, what I would do is I would start him off with the Skull Wand, which just adds a 15% crit chance to minions. So you might gravitate more towards a damage-based minion build just automatically, right? So that's kind of the way that I was thinking about doing the character. So instead of like, you know, having to program a special ability for each character, I just give them a different starting artifact, and then that could automatically just kind of like make certain builds more or less appealing depending on what artifact you start with. I think that would be a relatively low effort way of differentiating the characters and also providing enough of that variety where like playing a different character is actually meaningful. So anyway, any thoughts on that? I'm not opposed to adding like character special abilities either if that's necessary, but I think that, like I said, that's just kind of like a low effort way of making use of the stuff I've already built. And I hope that's good, but if it's not good, we'll add more. Another way is to put a cap on conversions in a loop, though that's likely not ideal here. Yeah, the cap runs the risk of just like not applying certain conversions, right? But I think we've solved it. I think we've figured out what to do about this. I like it. It gives you direction without locking you into anything. Yeah, that's what I like about it too. Well, that and the fact that it's just utilizing the systems that I've already built, right? So I don't need to like go and build a whole new system for like character passives. Cat, can you stop? Can you stop? Hey, this is not talk time. This is not talk time. This is stream time. You can't reason with a cat. This is BS. You can't reason with these creatures. You can't reason with this creature. Hi. Oh. Should we manhandle you a little bit? You're gonna be manhandled. Oh, goodness. Can you stop? I'm trying to think. Anyway, what was I testing? Oh, I was just starting the game to show you the character. Anyway, so I think this ability magnitude modifier here, we're going to want to do something like... am I allowed to do this? String... group ID null. And then can I just do ability magnitude modifier public string group ID. Oh wait, I want to probably assign a group ID in here. Do I want to do that as a separate method? Probably. Public void set group ID. So maybe I want to do this differently then. No. Am I allowed to do this? Okay, I guess I'll just do it the normal way. I think that'll work. Okay. I guess I'll do a set group ID. I don't really know. I don't really know. Why does that not work? What? Why doesn't that work? Oh. Oops. Okay, anyway. Let's go in here. We'll just do ability modifier that's set group ID type of manticore stinger dot name. Okay, that'll probably work. All right. Different characters would be really cool. Maybe different starting card too. Yeah. So the Necromancer would start with 2 skeletons. The Poison person would start with a couple of poison cards. I could even have people that, like, I could do the classic Dark Souls, like have a deprived class where you start with no artifact and you start with like a bunch of random cards that don't really synergize together at all. Maybe you start with a lower amount of health, you start with no artifact, and you get a bunch of cards that don't work together at all. That could be kind of fun. There could be a fire person that just starts with a bunch of fire cards and a fire artifact. I could even do, I could do a character that starts with like 20 health but has 2 starting artifacts. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different ways that I can approach it for sure. Azir, please stop. Please stop. Different starting board sizes. Yeah, I could do that too. Starting with an artifact. Yeah. There's a lot of like little dials I can tweak based on the character that you select. And I think that would be enough to differentiate all the characters. Oh my gosh. 1 second. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Small variety, like you mentioned, different starting artifacts, yeah. Like a wacky shaped board that is hard to build synergies. Yeah, like a really long vertical board. Sometimes they just yowl, yeah. In Path of Exile, they have a conversion order, physical, lightning, cold, fire, chaos. There are no effects that violate this ordering. You can do cold to chaos, but not the opposite. Interesting. Yeah, that is a way to solve the problem too. But I guess in Path of Exile, like the thing why they need to do that is because you as a player don't really have control over the order in which things are applied. But in this game, especially if I allow artifact reordering, then the order is very predictable, right? And so I can manipulate the cards and the order to get that to work. Oh, but the other thing... Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure that out. Don't negotiate with kitty terrorists, yeah. Hello, V, welcome back. Fallacies. Okay, anyway. So let's get this working. I think this will be good. I think this will be relatively simple. So I'll do var applied modifiers is equal to new hash set string. So applied modifier groups, I should call this. If modifier.getGroupID is not equal to null, let's do this. var group ID is equal to modifier getGroupID. If group ID is not equal to null, Then we're going to apply applied modifier groups.add group ID. Then we're going to say here, if applied modifier groups contains group ID. If I'm never adding null to this, then it should be fine. We'll just continue out of here. Okay, so I think that will work. I should probably extract a lot of these into their own methods as well. Maybe I'll just do that now. Well, shoot. It's fine for now. Okay, so that should prevent the Manticore modifiers from applying together. Now we have to deal with the ordering. So in get all composed abilities, here, we're going to put the artifact abilities first. So artifact context create, we're going to get all of those top level abilities, add those. And this will just iterate over the list of artifacts. And I'll have to make sure that this list of artifacts is ordered as well. That will be an important thing to do when I allow artifact reordering, I guess. But for now, the most important thing is that artifact abilities are added to the execution list first, then enchantments are added to the execution list, and then all of the other abilities are added in order from the card. Okay, so I think that's the most important thing. Let's see, Manticore Stinger. So let's just see if this works. So I've got heal to poison and poison to heal. So what I should see now is this Lambone ring should apply poison. So if I do this, converts all heal apply to poison. Okay, so I go do that. This should apply poison. Perfect. So previously it was just doing heal because it was being switched twice. But now I'm going to change this ordering as well, just to make sure that that's working. It should be the same difference, but that should work. And then, oh, Godot crashed. So yeah, it's just, wait, no, that's not working. Oh, it needs to detect, right. It needs to detect if it actually changed the ability, which should be simple enough. So var modified ability. If executing ability is not equal to modified ability and let me see where this is used. So this is going to be a problem, which is that so in the case where, like this example here, what this ability is doing is this is just increasing the duration of paralysis applied, but it is creating a new instance of this buff applicator. In that case, this modified ability is going to be different than the executing ability. I guess that's okay, because it technically has been modified by the modifier. So yeah, I think that's fine, actually. I think that's fine. Yeah, same for the poison enchant here. So this just increases the poison magnitude, but this is still, like, the modifier is still being applied, right? Even though it's returning the same type, it's returning a new instance, but that indicates that the modifier, like the magnitude of that ability has been modified. So it's a different, that indicates, so let me back up. If this returns a new instance, so if what's returned out of this modified ability magnitude is a different reference, it's not the same as the executing ability that we passed in, then that means that the modifier was applied, in which case we want to mark it as applied. Otherwise, if it's the same reference, that means it was unchanged at all, and we don't mark the modifier as applied. I think that makes sense. And Godot crashed, so I need to reopen this. So I think we're getting very close to this ability being done. The last thing that I need to do is a UI perspective. I need to be able to hide abilities on the cards, because what I don't want is I don't want this ability to show up everywhere. That just clutters it when it's stated very clearly here. So these abilities actually exist on the cards because the Manticore Stinger is adding those abilities to the cards. However, I just don't want to show them in the tooltips. But let's just see if this goes to poison again. So this should apply poison. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. Now the problem is you could stack these Manticore Stingers. I still haven't figured out what to do with like unique artifacts. I think that's going to be a problem. Because most of my artifacts are stackable, but things like the Manticore Stinger are not going to be stackable, so I don't really know what to do about that. I don't really know what to do about that. That is a problem for later me. Anyway, that's not important for right now. The important thing is that this is working. And now I just need to make that UI change to hide those abilities, which I don't know how I'm going to do. I guess I could do this. Public bool is hidden. Okay, so we're passing that flag along. Then what I would do in here, in the Manticore stinger, is I would do is hidden equals true. In my base card class, so I would do where X not exclude hidden or not X that is hidden. I think that's right. So the problem with this, is that right? Is that logic right? Let's get all the base composed abilities where we're not hiding, we're not excluding the hidden abilities, or X is not hidden to begin with. I think that makes sense. But now the enchants here, what I need to do is I need to go through my enchants, any enchantments that are applying abilities. Because previously I had assumed, so just to back up, this exclude hidden flag, this is for UI purposes. So when this exclude hidden is true, I'm getting all of the abilities that should display in the tooltip. And when this is false, this is all the abilities that I need to execute during combat. So previously it was the case that I didn't want to show enchant abilities. That's different from the enchantments themselves, right? So the enchantments have their own... They have their own descriptions, but they may add abilities like this convert damage to bleed enchant to the card itself. So I think in here what I just need to do is I need to do is hidden equals false. Or no, true. And I just need to go through every ability that gets added by an enchant and just make sure it's not showing up in the UI. And a lot of these enchants don't. Simple echo ability. Simple echo. Can I not do that? Oh, the accessory. Oh. Am I still using this in a couple of places? This is the only place where it's used. That should work, and then I can get rid of this simple echo. Delete. Is hidden. I think I probably do want to do this, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Where was that at? I hope that's right. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay. Goodness gracious. Hello, Ruin Star. Welcome. It's game dev time. Yes, indeed. All right. Reach for a card in starting cards. Card.add enchant, new swarm enchant. We'll just see if that works. I'm debating making a system for transferring abilities between cards in my game. Not as powerful as interesting as Alchemy, but maybe I can think up the code for it. Yeah, I mean, I always think that's interesting in games when you can like take stuff from one thing and put it on another. Definitely need to be careful about your system design though, for sure. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, that seems to be working. And I'm applying poison. So you'll notice that these Manticore abilities that are being placed on these cards are hidden now, but they're still part of the execution list. So they're just being hidden from the UI. And this swarm ability, this enchant has a different way of presenting itself than a typical ability. So what this enchant is doing is it's adding that swarm ability to the card, but that swarm ability's description is being hidden. If I were to go to my swarm enchant here and not hide that, what you would see is you would see the enchant description, but then you would see another ability on the card that's swarm, deal 3 damage. So kind of like the enchants are almost kind of like wrappers around abilities where they can provide an ability to the card. So you see here we've got swarm, deal 3 damage. That's marked with an enchant though. But then underneath it we've got swarm, deal 3 damage, which is the enchant ability. So that's not actually two different instances of the swarm. It's the enchant is being displayed differently than the typical ability display, which is why we need to hide that from the tooltip. So that's obviously very useful for doing things like enchants, but also now with the artifacts, in case there's an artifact ability that I want to put on the card that does that should not appear, then I can do that. And so now, do I have any poison abilities in here? Yeah. So this frog should heal for 6, basically, every turn. Oh no, it's doing 6 poison, right. Frog applied 4 poison and healed 2. Oh, right. Oh, it's interacting with the Rod of Asclepius. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Wait a minute. It's interacting with the Rod of Asclepius. So the Rod of Asclepius is putting the heal on this frog. With the Manticore Stinger, it's converting that Rod of Asclepius heal to poison, and then it's converting the frog's native poison ability to heal. So the frog is applying 4 poison and healing for 2 every time. That's hilarious. I wasn't even thinking about that, but there's an interaction for you. If you get the Rod of Asclepius and a Manticore Stinger, that's like free poison damage for you. Oh, goodness. This might be a very powerful item, but oh well. You still have to use alchemical cards to make that work, so that's kind of interesting. All right, well, there you go. There's an interaction for you that I was not anticipating. That's kind of the fun part about building these kinds of games, though, that are very like systems heavy, is that if you're building your systems correctly, you'll get all kinds of interactions from the system that you didn't even plan for. Which I think is like, that's the whole draw of these kinds of games, is just like throwing a bunch of tools at the player with which they can come up with their own synergies. And the most important thing, I think, is going back to the consistency conversation we had, is like, as long as I'm consistently executing the abilities in the order that they're presented to the player and giving the player control over that order of execution in some way, then the player is going to be able to come up with all their own interactions using the systems that the game is giving them. So that's really cool. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's working good. Okay. Add ability to hide abilities from tooltips. I deleted this simple echo. I should test out the echo enchant here real quick. I just want to make sure that works. And I feel like you outsmarted the dev. Yeah. I remember you saying earlier that this game wouldn't really be doable using GDScript. Care to explain a bit on why that is? Yeah. Hello, Alabarmo. So I'm making use of a lot of like abstract classes and interfaces for my ability system, which is how I'm like composing abilities in the game. And I just think that would be very, very difficult to do. Like, interfaces are not a thing in GDScript. So I would have to take a totally different approach to designing my ability system without the use of interfaces. And I just think that would be much harder to do from like a system design perspective, versus C#, which is, I mean, C# is literally a language built for having these kinds of more complex systems, managing more complex systems. So yeah, echo is working. That's good. Okay, we'll commit that. So I will get these changes into the playtest build, so you'll all be able to interact with the Manticore Stinger. So yeah, definitely gonna give that a try. Being able to reorder artifacts in the futures makes this skill-based. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I like that idea. So I'll have to do that for sure. Frogger G. GDScript does have abstract classes now, doesn't it? But I see your point with interfaces. Yeah, and I think I'm not too familiar with the abstract classes in GDScript. I think they're still limited in some way, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, with abstract classes being added, and I think Godot is going to come out with like a trait system and stuff. So GDScript is getting there. When I started this project, there weren't even abstract classes, right? So that's a relatively new thing. And the other thing is like, I'm just already comfortable with C#. And so just being able to go in and build the systems that I need to build with C# using all the tools available to me in C# is just made it an easy choice for me. Okay, cool. All right then. Well, that's going to be it for the stream today. I may do a stream again later this afternoon. We'll see, but it's lunchtime for me, so I'm going to go do that. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. Again, the playtest is live right now for Patreon members. So head on over to the Patreon if you'd like to get access to the playtest right now. You can subscribe at any tier. As soon as you subscribe, you'll have a Steam key for the playtest emailed to you. If you're already a Patreon subscriber, check your inbox. The Steam key should be there. And again, you do not have to pay. You do not have to support on the Patreon to get access to the playtest. It's just for 1 week starting today, only Patreon members will be able to play the playtest. And then the week after that, for 1 week, everyone's going to be able to try it. So you'll be able to join the playtest from the Steam page. I will send out announcements when all that is available. But yeah, for this week, for the next 7 days, it's Patreon members only. And then for 7 days after that, it will be open to everybody. So that effectively means that Patreon members get 2 weeks to play the playtest, and everyone else will get 1 week to try the playtest. So definitely consider joining the Discord as well. Send me any and all feedback you have about the game, what you like, what you don't like, what you feel is weird, what's unbalanced, all that good stuff. Every piece of feedback helps me a lot as I'm trying to get this game finished. And you can also wishlist Alchemortis. The Steam page is linked below. So everything is linked below. Would appreciate any and all support. And thank you to everyone who has supported and who is supporting the game right now. That's also very much appreciated. And yeah, hope you all have a great day. And if I don't stream later today, I will see you back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Okay, take care, everybody. Bye-bye, and thanks again. All right, see ya.